Welcome to Fondly Famous. I'm your host, Kelly Norfleet. Today I'm here with Stephanie Core for another Mortgage Monday, and today we're going to be talking about military home buyers.
That's right. Well, thanks for having me again, Kelly. So our military buyers, just in consideration, we just passed, Memorial Day and, Military Appreciation Month. So thinking about those benefits that, you could potentially be using here as a past veteran. So we all know there's VA loans, right? So in the mortgage world, a VA loan is for those that have served in our military. Typically, you have to have a 90-day continuous service to be eligible, but there are also some considerations if you're in like the reserve or other active duty statuses. So veterans, right? Yeah. Veterans are eligible. Who else do you think is eligible, Kelly?
Probably anyone who's served in the military previously, their spouses. Yes. We serve too. It's a joke.
But it's not, there's a different type of duty served, right? So if you are a surviving spouse of a veteran, you yourself are eligible for that VA loan. We also, as the world, continues, there's, veterans sometimes that, are not married, right? Maybe they're together, planning engaged, or anything that way. We don't care about that marital status. However, if they're both veterans, we can use both of them on the loan. But there are some considerations if you're trying to apply for a VA loan and you're not married with a non-veteran. There'll be some red tape to go through with some down payment requirements. But anyone who's, met those eligibility criteria absolutely can apply for a VA loan.
Okay. Yeah. This is what we used when we purchased our first home. So.
Perfect. Yeah, so the big thing is we need that certificate of eligibility. Okay, so that certificate of eligibility your lender can typically get if you provide your DD-214 standard discharge document, right? If you're active still, there's a different form, but we can take care of that directly and on an individual basis. And if for some reason your certificate doesn't come back real fast, right, through the Veterans Portal.
Because why would anything in the military be quick?
Well, and I've seen it mostly for those who served decades ago, and before the systems were computerized and, really kind of using that technology. I've had to help people obtain their original DD-214s in service, hours records from the National VA Archives.
Wow.
And that process can be a little intimidating, with applying and then the follow-up.
Right.
It's not always a very quick type of thing. They are literally going back through the paper files in the National Archives. So kind of interesting, but hopefully there's a quick, easy path for you.
Right. You'll get it.
Yeah.
Just might take a second.
Exactly. So why, if you're a veteran, why use your VA loan, right? What are the benefits? Kelly, what were your first benefits that you loved?
Huge one was the interest rate was lower.
Yes.
That was our main reason. And then the debt to income was not our main reason, but that is one that you hear pretty often.
It is.
It's a little bit more flexible.
It is. Debt to income ratios are more flexible, the most flexible of any financing type of program. No down payment, right? And no PMI. So your VA eligibility, waives that PMI requirement because of the loan program type.
And there's no down payment, but I always like to tell people that you still do have to come up with earnest money and you still do have to come up with money for inspection, because some people don't realize there is a difference. There is still out-of-pocket costs. So just a heads up.
Right. And you will have closing costs, just because it is no down payment doesn't mean there's no closing costs as well. So that earnest money that you would put down would go towards the credit of any closing costs you would pay at closing, including even just setting up that escrow account like we've talked about in the past. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. One of the other big things too is that the VA is flexible if you are still active duty with relocation orders. So even though you are in your primary residence in one location, if you get ordered, to move across country, right? There is a way for you to continue to use that VA loan with leaving, that primary residence and kind of that interim period. So absolutely some flexibility that way, which some people need. Yeah.
We don't have to go down too big of a rabbit hole here, but you can also keep your home if you have one. A lot of people do this in the military. They'll keep their first home that they purchase using a VA loan, and then they can purchase another one, which is really helpful to build income and wealth.
It is, yes, and that's part of that flexibility. It does not have to be retained as your primary residence as long as when you were there, you were using it as that. And then, of course, just making sure that you have the enough guarantee or eligibility then to purchase further ones down the road. I've seen some borrowers.
Make sure to check that.
Yes,
before you
check
make
with your
that
lender before. Don't just assume, because there are some very specific calculations that have to happen with that eligibility. But yeah, I've seen someone relocate a few times, and they had, 3 homes, and he had 3 homes, and they were unmarried, but we used that split entitlement, like I mentioned before, and it really just made everything go easier for them.
Well, it's a really great way to get a rental property, right? Like you're going to different places and doing all the things. But again, could go down a whole rabbit hole with that. But
Absolutely. And once you have your home, there's a few other benefits for the VA. So doing a VA to VA refinance, there's a streamlined process called an IRRL, okay? IRRRL. Maybe I put one too many R's in there, but interest rate reduction refinance loan. And it's a simple way to refinance your current loan for a lower interest rate. Usually, credit appraisal, those usual requirements, a lot of that is streamlined and waived. So it's a really quick process that way. And once you have the house, there are not too many things that you have to worry about afterwards, but just putting that plug out there, like as interest rates and market changes, it's a quick refinance process.
That, and if you go to sell it, the VA is assumable. That loan is assumable, which has been a benefit in the past. Obviously, not in all situations, but that is a good opportunity too.
Right. As long as they're, approved by that servicer to assume that loan, you can assume that interest rate, the current mortgage as it is, which is really nice. Big benefit to someone who's trying to buy.
Yep, I've seen that happen a few times. So good opportunity.
And when you're buying, Kelly, I hear all the time from people like, the VA is so picky about the property, right? And honestly, they're really looking out for you. If you're, a veteran, they want to make sure that you are in a home that has been decently maintained, and you're not going to come up with a big expense, large repair type of thing, very shortly after closing. So it's kind of standard stuff, right? They don't want to see lead-based paint, chipping around everywhere.
Rotting wood.
Rotting wood is a no-go, that type of stuff, but
people consider that stuff to be picky, and while I understand some of the frustrations, those are really relatively minor things that can be fixed and be done, and there's different ways to get that done for close so that everyone's on the same page and is in a situation that works.
Exactly. We've done repairs, prior to close. We've done escrow accounts for after, closing for big things, but it's really health and safety. Would you want a trip falling down a stairs and not have a handrail, to help catch you, so type of things like that. We've talked about our wood destroying pest inspection before, so that if you're in a certain location, you'll have to get that type of inspection. But I do want to mention one amazing thing about appraisals. Okay, so if the appraiser feels that the home is not going to value at the purchase price, he initiates what's called Tidewater. And this is something that is unique to VA. Only VA loans do this. So they allow the lender and the agents to get together and say, hey, this home is not appearing to come out as value per the contract. Did I miss a comparable sale, or did I miss some information that I should have in my report? So the VA does allow for, kind of a little bit of a heads up and a rebuttal period prior to that report coming in. And that's the only type of loan that allows that.
So many times I have dealt with that Tidewater, especially in the market as it's been changing and things have been going. But as the listing agent, you have all of those things ready to go and can showcase exactly where you got the numbers, and it's something that you can get through.
Absolutely. It's just nice to have a heads up, before we get the reports back. So
absolutely,
very, very interesting, type of benefit in there. And speaking of benefits, right? So I don't know if everybody knows this, but Wisconsin, the state of Wisconsin, offers a tax benefit for our veterans. You have to qualify, and you can go to the revenue.wi.gov to kind of get some more details about that. But veterans and surviving spouses can be awarded 100% their property taxes back as a tax credit on their income taxes when you file. So, like I said, you have to qualify. I believe there's a percentage service-related disability, type of thing. But one of those cool things that the state of Wisconsin does.
Okay. Yeah, and I didn't even realize that. It's pretty big.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just another small thing that'll help and add up,
Yes. A $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 tax credit, isn't a shabby thing, right?
Not too bad. No, not too shabby. You can get a little knee slap in there, and it'll be very Wisconsin for you.
Right. Right. And now, once in a while, I have come across a veteran buyer that, for some reason or other, they didn't qualify for the regular VA loan. Maybe they were shy on their service period. Who knows, exact circumstances and situations. But Wisconsin also has our Wisconsin Housing and Economic Development Association, or WHEDA, and they offer a Valor program, so WHEDA Valor, and this is specifically for veterans who received an honorable discharge. They can use that program. And it's more in like a conventional loan, but you get a little bit of an interest rate reduction with that as well. So it's another alternative if for some reason, like I said, we're shy on service period or something, we can't qualify that way.
Okay. So Wisconsin does a lot of things to help the veterans.
Yes, absolutely. It's nice to have those extra little options and bring that in.
Yeah, it's nice to see and hear,
honestly. Absolutely. And that's pretty much the basics, but I think we need to bust a couple myths though, Kelly.
Okay.
So how many times can you use your VA benefit?
Unlimited.
True, unlimited.
I'm in the hot seat.
Right, it's not just once, just because you buy it and use it once, no problem. You could buy from a conventional, with a conventional loan and refinance to a VA loan. You could do so many different things. So it's not limited. The funding fees might vary a little bit, but VA is not, a bad program to.
One of the biggest things that I learned when my husband was serving is that no one teaches you how to use your VA benefits and your VA loans. So he was in the service, and like many other people, had no idea all of these things. And this is very common. So a lot of people don't know, that they can use a VA loan to begin with, but then they also don't realize that you can use it again. And like we had discussed earlier, you can purchase a property at one station, purchase another property. There's limitations and things that apply, but start asking those questions. If you guys do have the VA benefit, or you've served in the military, are serving, there are so many things that are at your fingertips. You just may not know how to use them.
Right. I think the va.gov is a pretty good website to get some information about that, but talk to your local people, right? Because I do hear the things about the housing side, because that's the thing that I'm most involved in. But then, the education benefits and just taking advantage of all of those resources and things, because you served, and we want to give you everything that we can, to show our appreciation that way. Yeah.
What's another myth, do you think?
Another myth. We talked about, VA being super picky with property condition, but honestly, it's really not as bad as what's out there. I've had some, sellers and agents and things just, flat out say we don't want to deal with that.
Yep.
It's not really that big of a problem, unless the house is crumbling down.
It is though. So many sellers shy away from VA loans, which just blows my mind. And I think that has to do with the listing agent and what they're educating you on. And yes, there are things you may have to make repairs, but overall it's a very smooth process. And I just really hate hearing that, because there's really great benefits to doing that. So
exactly. And as far as qualifying buyers, if something changes in their loan application between the accepted offer and closing, they're the most flexible program to be able to continue with the loan approval too, and try to figure that out. And I know we want to get veterans into homes, and so there's been some crazy things that I've seen kind of come together in order to make that happen, on the loan side. So.
Well, you don't really have to worry about them losing their job. They're contracted for years. I've seen people lose their job, unfortunately, during, purchasing of a home, and that's a risk, and things fall through. But you're quite a bit more guaranteed if you're selling to someone who's contracted, like in the military. So lots of pluses. Yeah,
and even those service members that are getting some type of continued benefit, right? A disability relation, or payments that way, like we can use that for your qualifying income as well. So kind of very flexible that way. And talking about losing jobs, that just reminded me too, like the VA is so flexible with leaving service and entering the workforce, right? Because you don't technically have like 2 years job experience out in the field, in that job doing that same thing. So they're pretty flexible with you being able to leave service and kind of enter the workforce in a different type of career path.
Still get financed.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And let's see, what else? Well, so what happens like if you are active duty and your wife finds a house and she's like, hey, I want to buy this thing, and you'd be over in the Middle East or anywhere in the world. The VA is very flexible with not being present to sign. Like you can assign a POA just for the purposes of the purchase transaction. You can have a mobile notary come in and sign with you, like if you're in the U.S. somewhere, and type of thing. So
but if you are looking to purchase a home and you think maybe even you might purchase a home, get that special power of attorney before you deploy. You can get it on deployment, but it is much harder. And like my husband didn't even serve in wartime, but he's been in places where he couldn't get a notary, he couldn't get things. And many other people have been in the same circumstances. So you can absolutely, but there is a special power of attorney that you need. And it's just easier to get it up front. Just in case, you never know.
Just in case, you just don't know.
Exactly. As with the military, it's hurry up and wait, and all of a sudden you're getting orders while you're overseas and you need a house, and just cover your bases. But absolutely, you can get it signed and do a POA.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's usually the easiest way to handle that. But and I don't know, can you think of any other myths?
I don't think so.
Or questions that, going through the process yourself, right?
Go to a local lender would be my only suggestion, and my biggest takeaway, I think, from everything. I personally reached out to one of the more well-known active duty military branches for assistance, and it was not great. And I've also worked with them in a bunch of different levels. I've had 1.5 hour hold times, and like when you're in the middle of 2020 and you have 7 offers on a house, you can't wait 1.5 hours for that pre-approval to come through. And you never know the situations, but I have clients who have used the bigger names, and time again, I would suggest that you use someone local that you can reach in a moment's notice. That would be my overall take. If you take nothing else, take that from me.
Yes, so. I would agree. I've heard stories and different things throughout the years as well, and not every local lender can offer VA loans because they do have to go through that special approval process, with HUD. But work local. Like everything. Even your real estate agents and stuff. Do your research and find someone that you really click with, and that you feel very comfortable sharing that information with, and being on a journey together for a couple months, because that's going to be your go-to person for a while. And I say that as a real estate agent, but also as someone who used a VA loan prior to having a real estate license. Honestly, it was not enjoyable. So just a different point of view. And we want to make it as easy for you as possible, so use someone that's local and experienced and can really help guide you through the process in each step.
Absolutely. And if you need any help, give Stephanie a call and reach out. She'll be happy to answer any questions and help you guys get the process started. So, thank you.
Excellent. Well, thank you.